1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead. Can I call the meeting to order? Jason, okay, so I'll call the advisory committee meeting to order at 9:28 p.m. Okay, and I am going to read this again. This is really a separate meeting, so I'm going to have to read the governor's. So hold on a second. Okay, so pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 38, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Southborough Advisory Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public. Oh, shoot. Okay. Members of the public and our parties with the right and our requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough's website at https://www.southboroughtown.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch or participate in the meeting may do so in the following manner by finding the meetings at www.southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we aren't able to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. All right. Sorry, guys, that this is running so late. I was really optimistic thinking that we'd start 7:30. So I'm going to go as quick as we can, but we do have some things to get done here.
Jason, do you want to move Judy over?
All set.
Okay, I'm going to do this. Let me see if she's still there. There she is. I'm going to do this a little bit out of order, out of consideration for Catherine McKee, who's been here all night long. So let's talk about the fence again as far as the CPC project. If you recall, there she is. The way we left this last week is we want to do a little bit more work on the proposal to add the fence around the area that needs to be protected, that is MWRA precious land. So since last week, I have talked to Catherine. I've talked to Sam Stivers. Sam is actually on the board of the MWRA, so he's always helpful. So he actually basically educated me as how water flows all the way from the Quabbin and where it's treated, et cetera. One of the questions we had was, did we get multiple proposals? The answer is yes. They got many proposals. Catherine has walked the path with the MWRA. The MWRA has basically set out the specifications that they require for this 8-foot fence. They did have to comply with the laws that determine what the wages are that have to be paid on projects like this. So I think that they've gone as far as they can to make this as cost efficient as they can. It's just expensive because the way the process works. Then the thing that Sam added that really helped me is when he explained that the water runs from the Quabbin through Marlboro where it gets treated, then runs under Southborough through the place that we're talking about fencing. It is really, really important that that place gets protected. And so the fact that the MWRA is willing to let the Trails Committee do what they wanted to do is part of that is to put this fence. So if they want this trail to be an open trail, we've got to put this fence up. So Mr. Rooney, you had the most issue with this. Does anything I say tonight or have said change your mind? Are you any less concerned? Catherine's here too to answer further questions. You're muted.
Yeah, Catherine, thank you for putting all that information together. That was certainly above and beyond what I expected to have. And you know what? I am in favor of this project, but I'm opposed to the procedure. I just can't get over I mean, it's almost, maybe extortion's the wrong word, but it could be the right word. I just have a problem, Kathy, if this thing is so secure, heightened security is so necessary, then why aren't we having a partner contribute to that fencing? Again, I'm just concerned that that amount of money for this fence, to me, because we have to go through this process, I have a problem with that.
So your issue is cost, correct, John?
Yeah, it is. I mean, yes, it is.
So we sort of do have a partner here, a little bit indirect, but by CPC funding this, this allows the Trails Committee to apply for the grant that they're hoping to get that will let them then spend some more money on the trail itself. But this would be the town contribution that will allow the grant to be approved. So they kind of need this to be able to get that grant approved. If we don't do this, then they're not going to be able to get that grant. So there is a little bit of a partner here.
Catherine, would the grant fully fund the cost of the fence?
So I guess to layer on to what Kathy said, the grant, this money will help us, right? We need this 20%. We need a matching funds to be able to go after the grant. So will the grant pay for the fence? If we get the grant, it will help pay for the project, which is, there's a little bit more that we need to do outside of the scope of what we've discussed here. So I think if you're saying, can you separate the funds and only use the grant money to pay for the fence? That's maybe something we could do. I don't know exactly how to answer that question today.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I really do. And again, thank you so much for that research.
Yeah.
But Catherine, you can't get the grant without town putting money in, right? The grant.
That's right. We just have nothing. We have zero. There's no other option. This is where we're at, and we need these funds to be able to get the grant.
So is the grant matching 20% of the CPC number, or is it the other way around?
We need 20% of total project cost for matching funds, and so we don't have
a pretty big grant. So it's a $200,000 grant.
If we do the full, like this, so the CPC money, it depends on what the total project comes out as. And we didn't come into this process knowing the total project cost. So it's not that we're unprepared. It's just that's months down the road, and it's still going to be worked out depending on a couple of aspects of the project that we're trying to confirm. So I can't say that this CPC application will be exactly 20% of total project cost. Does that make sense? Yeah. So what it might be is that the total project cost might be less and this might be more. So can we spend more grant money and keep CPC money in? Yeah, potentially we could do that. And we would look to do that as much as we could.
Okay, so John, there you go. If they end up spending less than, whatever 40-something thousand bucks is 20% of, then it could be less, but you won't know it till they get the grant and decide what they're going to do. So you can't.
Catherine, you probably answered this at last time you were here. If you did, I apologize. When you talk about total cost of the project, what are you talking about? And will you be coming back looking for additional funding through CPC or some other revenue source?
No, we're not coming back to CPC for additional funding. We're hoping this is a one and done in most cases. So the other aspects of the project that I haven't fully highlighted because I was told it complicates the process of conversation. So I'll apologize in advance if it gets complicated, but essentially there's more to the trail that we can do. For example, there's a crosswalk at Route 30 and Central Street that we'd like to put in to make it safer for people who may be parking at Fayville Park on Central and walking down. There is an abutter or two that are along the path that may want trees planted for a natural fence and some screening. There's also a chance on the opposite side, if MWRA agrees, to allow us to build a boardwalk type thing and a bridge across Stony Brook. Now this is getting way ahead of the game, so I don't want anyone quoting me on this, but so we've been in talks with MWRA, and that would actually address Kathy's concern about Route 30 or Pleasant Street's very narrow bridge that's difficult and dangerous to walk on. So if we could avoid going on Route 30, that this boardwalk would allow us to do that. So all of those are potential costs to the project. Also, if we can make this an ADA compliant trail and DCR agrees on their side, we could push back the gate rather, that's right now right at the Central Street, and push it back over the slope. The slope is too steep to be ADA compliant. But if we push the gate back and we can get some parking, we've addressed one of the slopes that's difficult to make it to comply with the requirements for that. So those are just some additional pieces to the project that we're not adding to the CPC piece or to this funding application. But this funding application will enable us to look for more money to be able to accomplish some of those pieces of the project.
And is it your thought process that all of these additional costs, which I obviously will accumulate to a certain number, will ultimately the objective be to get them paid through grant money?
Yes.
But it
Yes.
will be a different grant, or
Well, right. It's
larger part of the first one?
the main grant.
And I'm sorry to ask so many questions. Let me
No,
tell you.
I really appreciate the
I
question.
started that, listen, I'm in favor of this, and I just told you I had a lot of indigestion in terms of the value of the cost of the fence.
Right, and I can't really help you with that, but we would certainly want a favorable vote from you, but you have to do what you have to do. So I appreciate the questions, and I think, what was it that you said? I'm sorry, I'm very.
Yeah, in terms of the additional funding, there's
grant,
obviously a number at some point. Do you expect to have to go through the same process of grants, or would you at some point be looking for residents' tax money, either through in a budget or through the CPC?
No, I'm really hoping, I don't want to go through this again. I'm really hoping that that the grant will take care of it, right? So that the idea is we have this money, we can go forth. This year will be dedicated to putting together the project, the plan, and having everything worked out. So when we go to the Mass Trails Grant that's overseen by DCR, February 1st, 2022 is the deadline, or the submission deadline. We would have everything together for that. So no, I don't think we'd be coming back to CPC for more funding, especially if the townhouse gets funded, because apparently that's going to be a problem for the budget for the next few years. So we understand that.
Again, thank you so much for your, like I said, for your research and coming back again.
No, I appreciate your
Hey,
time.
Catherine, the 12% increase in the pipe is going to eat up almost all your contingency. You know that, right?
Yeah, I do know that. And that's why, the grant will also help with that. So that's not something I could really control. Something I did speak with the vendor on Friday and asked him about cutting costs based on your conversation. And, he said, really part of the requirements that are in the specs using 40 weight piping drives up the cost of the project as well. But if MWA could be lenient on some of those, that would kind of be an area we could give a little, but I'm not sure that MWA will be lenient on those specifications. So that, we did explore that, and it's just, that's kind of what he said.
Okay. Anybody else want to discuss this anymore? If we don't vote tonight, it's not going to go in the warrant, so we need to vote on these tonight. So I just didn't vote on this one right now while Catherine is here, so she can see how we voted. Is that okay? All right. Okay, so why don't we decide Andrew Pfaff is going to make all the motions for the CPC articles, and Jason, you do the seconding?
Okay.
Yeah, I can't do CPC.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so you can't do CPC. All right, Jason can do this one. Everybody else can do this one, right? Okay, so Jason, why don't you make the motion? Andrew D, you
Can you
do.
just, while I pull up the warrant, can you just tell me what warrant article number this
I got it
is?
right here. Yeah, so this article is going to
23?
be 22 now.
22 now.
I'll move that the advisory committee support Article 22 related to the CPC application for the trails fencing.
Andrew D.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, so roll call vote with Andrew P going to abstain. So I'll start with Judy.
Budge eye.
Cook is aye. AD.
Aye.
Okay, Jason.
Aye.
Tim.
Aye.
Mr. Rooney.
Aye, very reluctantly, and based upon the surgical advocacy of Catherine, would I vote in favor of this article.
Good job, Catherine. And then Andrew P.
Yeah.
Abstain. Okay, so Claire, that was 6-0-1 with Andrew P. abstaining.
Thank
There
you,
you go,
Catherine.
Catherine. So thank you for hanging. I saw you in the audience tonight, and I feel bad because I thought you probably don't know this is not going to happen until a lot later. So thank you for hanging with us tonight.
No, I appreciate everyone's time, and your questions were great, and have a good night. And I really applaud you guys. You have a hard job and you have really long meetings. So good luck getting through it tonight.
All volunteers do, so we're all.
That's
we're all
why we get paid the big bucks for this, right?
No, you'd be in the fence building business to get paid the big bucks.
Yeah, apparently.
God's never going to let that go.
I know. All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
Okay, so now the other four, we took straw votes. We did, we kind of know where we're leaning, so let's try it. Let's make the votes official. Let's start with the St. Mark's Church bell tower. So on that one, let's figure out who's voting there. So there's 3 people that won't vote, and that is Andrew P., Tim Martell, and Kathy Cook. So Andrew D., you want to handle that vote?
Okay, can you give me an article warrant number?
Yep, the
Yes.
warrant article number is number 19.
I move that the advisory committee support at town meeting Article 19 in the current draft of the warrant regarding use of CPC funds for the St. Mark's Tower.
Second.
And on the roll call vote, I guess going alphabetically, Judy?
Did you say support?
Yeah, but I think it's just Kathy wants you to, even if you disagree with it, move. This is the proper form of the
You
motion.
support it, then you just, you can say
Yeah.
nay.
Nay.
Bud's nay. Marta, nope, Malinowski,
It's no.
Dennington, no, and Mr. Rooney. You're muted.
No is to be against the funding, correct?
No is to be against the funding.
My vote is no.
So
Okay,
Claire,
thank
that
you.
vote is 0-4-3. Okay, all right, let's go to the flag school assessment. So John, you, I think, were the only one sort of opposed to that one. I don't think your opposition was strong, but I couldn't remember why. So we don't have any new news. I mean, it is what it is. It's $10,000 to take a look at it and see what needs to be done.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why. I think I was concerned again about the costs of having the exact paint duplication cost and the costs associated with that. But again, it's not something I'm going to rest my laurels on. To the extent everyone else is on board with it, I'll go on board as well.
Bigger fights to have.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's fine.
so Jason, you are going to be able to vote on that one, correct?
Yep.
So
Can we move it?
half won't. Okay, so 6 of the vote on this one. Okay, so you make the motion.
I'll move that the advisory committee support Article 21 related to the CPA funding of the flag school assessment.
Andrew? Okay, roll call vote. Assuming there's no further discussion. Judy?
Bud's aye.
Cook is aye. AD?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
AP?
Abstain.
Mr. Rooney?
Aye.
Okay, so Claire, that's 6 in favor, 0, 1 abstention, and that is Andrew Pfaff. All right, the next one is calendar field. Do you guys say calendar or calendar? I think it's calendar. It's Peter Calendar. So calendar. So calendar field. So the opposition last week, that was from Mr. Martell, who's still concerned that it was built to flood and therefore it's going to eventually flood. And all we have is a report from an engineer that says this is how you fix the problem. So that's what we're relying on.
Yeah, and I really want the field fixed. I just don't want to spend a lot of money and then like have it flooded again. I feel like the engineers are copping out.
Anybody else feel strongly about not supporting this, that wants to weigh in here?
I would just say, I think I remember in the selectmen's meeting, at least Mr. Shea you know, I think was spearheading the research on this, and he felt comfortable with the engineering was going to cover what they were going to do. But
Well, that helps.
He is or he is not?
Yes.
was comfortable.
Says, you know, he's an engineer, Judy. I don't know exactly whether this is in his bailiwick or not, but he is an engineer. He's a smart guy. So anybody want to discuss this one any further? All right, Jason, you want to make a motion?
I don't think I can or Andrew can
Huh.
because we're on
I'm
capital.
sorry, you're right. Okay, so Andrew Dennington. Can you make the motion? And it's Article 18.
Well, I don't really completely understand why, as this capital planning members, you need to recuse yourself from something like this. It's a CPC article, right?
Yeah, but they
So-
vetted it. They vetted it pretty soon. So they vetted this one and the townhouse. So that's
It's a
why,
capital project for the town that we may oversee on the back end.
right? Regardless of how it's funded, they still vetted it.
Okay, I move that the advisory committee support at town meeting Article 18 of the draft warrant CPC funds for Calander Field.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Judy seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, Judy,
Bud's eye.
Mr. Dennington,
Aye.
Tim,
I will vote aye.
Cook is aye, and Mr. Rooney.
Abstain.
Okay, so Claire, that's 4-0-1. Two people aren't voted at all. 4-0-1, with Mr. Rooney being the absentee, if that's a word. Okay, all right, last one is the big one, the townhouse windows and facade. And again, Andrew P. and Jason will not vote. Same reason, they vetted that thoroughly through capital planning. Okay, that one, I believe if my memory serves me correct, we all supported in the straw vote. So I'm assuming there's no further discussion. No one has covered anything.
Kathy, I think my position was I prefer to wait until town meeting to see if anything else comes up with regards to any additional projects.
Okay, so let's do this one this way. This is a big project. It's probably going to engender a lot of discussion. So there could be something that comes up at town meeting that we haven't heard, that we haven't considered. So what does the committee think about waiting to town meeting for this one?
I think it's a very good idea.
Okay, anybody disagree? Judy?
No.
Okay, Tim? Okay, so Andrew D., can you just make a motion to hold the vote on this one to town meeting?
And the article number again is,
The article for this one is 20.
I move that the advisory committee wait until town meeting to decide whether to support Article 20 of the current draft warrant regarding CPC funds for the townhouse.
Second?
Second.
Okay, Judy seconded. Any further discussion? All right, roll call vote. Judy?
Bud's eye.
Cook is aye. Mr. Dennington?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
And Mr. Rooney?
Aye.
Okay, so Claire, 5-0-0 on voting to wait to town meeting to vote on that article. Okay, all right, so we've taken position on all of the CPC articles except for that one. We'll do that on town meeting. Okay,
Hey, Kathy, just one thing, and I'm sorry I didn't raise this at the beginning. My understanding is CPC still hasn't finalized the language for what's actually going to be in the warrant articles.
yes,
For all of
you-
them, Jason, or just this one?
For all of them. I don't know, sorry, it's late. It just dawned on me. So you may just want to monitor if
I
there
will.
are any changes to the language from what we just voted on across
I
the board.
will, but if we don't vote tonight, it doesn't go in the warrant. That's why I thought we
Understood.
better go ahead. We just support, and then we can always change it, right, if we need to. But it's my understanding that the one that they're most hung up on is the townhouse language. The other ones are fairly straightforward. Okay, so I think we're in pretty good stead as far as that goes. So good point, Jason. Thank you. Okay, let's see. So one quick note on reserve fund fiscal year 21. Carla called me this week and said, Kathy, don't forget that Paul Pazensky, remember when they hired Heather as the full-time director, Paul resigned as full-time director, and then they rehired him on a part-time 6-hour-a-week basis. So that's not in the budget. Carla does not feel like she can ask for CARES money because Paul does nothing. Paul does inspections, he's more of the environmental, septic, etc. So she doesn't feel like she can ask for CARES Act for that one. So she is basically saying you're probably going to have to do reserve fund transfer for the 6 hours that were added for him. So that's just FYI. I don't know what the number is. I haven't seen the number. It won't be big, but we probably will have to do a reserve fund transfer for that at the end of the year too.
Kathy, did he do anything CARES related?
I don't know the answer to that for sure. He works for the Board of Health. So maybe a expansive interpretation would be you probably should consider asking for CARES money, and maybe a conservative interpretation you wouldn't if he strictly, but he's down there, he probably does do something that is COVID related, you would think. The whole office is involved in COVID right now. So I don't know the answer, John. You guys know as well as I do that the Finance Committee is being relatively conservative with what they want to ask for as far as CARES money go. You've heard what they said tonight. You've heard what they said other times too. So Carla does not seem to want to include this in what she's asking for as far as CARES go.
Kathy, could you do it as a contra revenue?
As a what, Andrew?
Contra revenue?
Say that we lost revenue because of this?
Jason, did you hear what?
You're saying you're calling it a contra revenue account? Yeah, I don't think you can do that in government accounting.
Okay.
You have revenue and you have expenses, and they have to be separate. They're separate account numbers, and
Because it's like an expense to create revenue for the fees kind of thing.
yeah, government accounting is a little more restrictive than GAAP.
Yeah, okay.
Kathy, I don't know if you noticed, John Butler joined and has his hand up. I don't know what it's about. I don't know if you want to bring him over or.
I do. Can we bring him over? He's had a long night with us.
John's hanging out. I think he wants to come over permanently.
Well,
Rooney, aye.
well,
Hello.
hello.
I'm sorry for jumping in, but I thought that I sent you a text message, Kathy. I don't know if you saw it, but I looked at your minutes after the confusion about what the language was. I looked at your minutes from the meeting of the 20th of January, which was when I appeared, and the minutes are correct, and the correct language is in the document, which was called PDF of it's Pete Butler Redline of Proposed Advisory Amendment. So that document contains the correct text that and your minutes note that it contains the correct text that you voted that night. The PowerPoint was with the proposal I went into you with, but which you voted to change, and I recorded your changes and sent them to you in that PDF, which made it into your minutes.
The PDF I saved, now obviously I've messed up here. The PDF I saved is what I said it was. So I just messed up.
No, I'm reading.
I believe you. I believe you. I'm sure you're right. So we're going to fix it in a minute. But I saved a PDF that I thought was what we had approved. So I never went back and looked at the minutes again. I just sent it on to Martin Purple and then talked about it tonight.
I see. Well, so your minutes. So if again, just to reiterate, your minutes from the meeting are correct as far as, unless you, again, as I was surprised, unless you had taken it up afterwards, which you say you didn't.
Nope.
Minutes correctly record what you voted that night, and they're in the PDF that's in your minutes.
Okay, so all we're going to do tonight is confirm what's in those minutes, and then I'm going to send it on to Mr. Purple to get corrected as soon as we adjourn tonight.
So Kathy, I actually prefer recuse versus no quorum.
Well, we're going to talk about it, so we'll see.
One of you, I don't remember which one, I had proposed recuse. Someone suggested, let's stay with the language as it is. It's a little less tight. And honestly, I didn't care about it enough. It that was what your committee wanted to do that night. And so it was changed to, it was put to the words that are in there.
I think it was me. And I think my rationale, I think you got it right in the BOS meeting, is when I think of recuse, John, I think of you in a Zoom environment, you shut your camera off and you disappear and you can't speak, versus we've linked, at least assuming town meeting approves them, we've linked capital and advisory for one member together permanently, just like we've linked Board of Selectmen and capital together permanently for one member. So that capital member, if they recuse themselves, can't answer questions of the advisory committee.
No, that's, so the language, so recusal has the good aspect of it, that it's well-defined in state law. And what you're required to do is, in effect, become a member of the audience. You can be acknowledged to ask questions by the chair, and you can be recognized by the chair to answer questions, but you can't vote and you don't count as a member of the quorum. So it, in a Zoom setting, which is not the way the law was written about this, you would basically step back to the status of attendee when you were recused, and you could be brought in to ask questions or answer them, just as I am now. But it's not a big deal, I don't think. And so that's why when you made your proposal to stick with the language you had, honestly, I didn't care. The only thing I really cared about was that the committee preserved its independence, and it didn't seem like a big deal one way or the other. And the only reason that I had recommended the language recuse was that it's used throughout the state law regarding meetings of town officials, and it's sort of legally understood. That's the only advantage of it.
So to be clear to what Jason just said, you disagree with that. So that if we have a capital planning committee member from advisory, capital planning committee comes to advisory, then that member can speak from the audience to answer a question advisory may have of capital planning committee.
Essentially, it's a head table question. That person can stay at the table with the other committee members, which specifically is prohibited under the state rules about recusal. So that's the difference. And that means that the person, might be recognized by the chair the way other members, as a peer of the other members, even though they can't vote. So that's the difference between recusal and the language that you approved at the meeting of January 20th.
So John, if I could ask a question. So in those instances in where a member has recused him or herself from voting, we're actually supposed to go from panelists to attendees?
That's the state law. That's the state law, John.
Okay. Well,
I ended up looking this up because Kathy asked me to jump to sort of, so I ended up researching this, that's the rule.
well, it's good
Okay,
to know.
so they've actually modified that for Zooms, or you just think that's the
Oh,
answer?
no, I don't know that. I don't know whether there have been any modifications of recusal rules specifically for Zoom. The text that I consulted was all written before the COVID era, and how the recusal rules have been interpreted for Zoom. Since basically it says when in the physical context, the person who is recused can either leave the room or join the audience and then be a peer of other members of the audience attending a public meeting. So I would assume that the Zoom needs to approximate that status, and it has that status, which is the status I was in before you put me into this thing here just now.
Yeah, but of course, if you're in the audience or an attendee, you can't talk unless
Until you're
brought in-
recognized by the chair, but you can talk after you're recognized by the chair. And the law of recusal for physical meetings is the same. That is, a person who is recused from the meeting doesn't count as a quorum, can't vote, and can only speak when recognized by the chair. That's what it is.
So Kathy,
Yes.
if I can jump in, now that this is jogging my memory about, trying to move it forward, why I think that we came to a reasoned decision to keep it with the language right, which is reflected in the minutes, which is that rather than the recuse language, which is in the current draft warrant article, that we instead wanted to say that you can't be counted for purposes of a quorum or vote. And that's because we did want you to, a capital planning, a CIPC member, to be able to stay at the table and and answer questions. And just my interpretation of recusal is always that you do not, you leave the room completely, because you can interpret, having been on a board like the ZBA, if you have a conflict of interest, or even if you're in the audience, your facial expressions can communicate to other members of the board how you feel about things, and that the safer thing is to leave completely. So just summing it all up, I think that it is appropriate that we try to correct the language in the draft warrant article to reflect what we originally voted last time.
Okay, so just to be clear, forget Zooms for a moment, the old-fashioned normal physical meeting, right? So if we fix this and go back to and get it, let's say what we voted on, when a capital planning committee member is at a meeting where capital planning committee is there to talk to us, that person is going to sit at the table, right? And just be quiet, or that person's going to sit at the table and can't answer questions. They just can't count as far as a quorum goes. Is that what we're saying?
And they can't vote.
The latter, you
Can't
could,
vote. They don't count as a quorum. They can't vote, but they could ask questions to
Yeah.
the other capital planning committee members. Is that what we're saying? Okay, so
Yes.
it's a little bit more flexible than the recuse, is what you're saying.
we think it should be more flexible, because this isn't like you have a personal conflict of interest,
Okay,
which, that's what recusal is about, something like that.
okay. So does everybody agree that we're going to fix this and go back to what we actually voted on and get it right? And we're not going to change it again?
I think my only concern is that my understanding of recusal is that you're still okay on a quorum. So if you have our committee where you need 5 people, right? If you have 5 people at the beginning of the meeting to call the meeting to order, and then on a vote, one person needs to recuse themselves.
Andrew, with all respect, that's not correct. In fact, there's a huge piece of legal apparatus associated with committees that must reach decisions and don't have quorums because of recusal. And there is state law provision dealing with committees that must make a decision but don't have a quorum, and how they do so, and that don't have a quorum because of recusal. So it's very clear that if you're recused, you can't vote, and you don't count in the quorum. That's state law.
I know you couldn't vote, but so if you had a 4 out of 5 people, you still would have qualified if the person didn't vote.
So to be clear, the reason why ZBA has alternates is that ZBA, so some committees like the Board of Selectmen, for example, if they don't have a quorum because of recusal, they have a mechanism under the state law for making decisions when they don't have a quorum that's carefully specified. And the reason that if they don't have a quorum because of recusal, the ZBA, which could easily encounter that problem, has alternates because to not need to invoke the necessity rules of the state because they're complicated and difficult. But it's very clear that the state law is that if you must recuse yourself, you can't count as a quorum.
So
But by the way, I'm fine. I think the direction you're talking about going of sticking with the language you actually voted is fine.
And because we had a prior meeting, we went over this, we were probably our minds were fresher about this. I don't think we should be there's an error in the town warrant. We'll correct it.
Okay, so all I gotta do
We're
is
gonna
fix
stick
it.
to our
I've made
prior
a
decision.
mistake here. It's not, we don't have to revote. We've already voted. I
You
just
don't
gotta
need to
fix it.
revote it.
Yeah, so I just
Okay.
gotta fix it, what I've sent. So I'll get it
Yes.
fixed.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
bye, folks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, John.
Right.
Okay, so as far as what else we need to do, either tonight or very quickly, there's a few more budgets to vote. We can do that pretty fast. And that way we voted on every single department budget and every single warrant article we can. The only things we haven't voted on would be Board of Health and MIS. And then we got to get to a resolution on those two at some point soon. So let's do this. Let's at least vote for what we can. We can do this in just a few minutes. And then we got to decide how we want to go forward with the two budgets we talked about tonight. Okay, everybody agree with that? Okay, I got to get this pulled up.
Kathy, can you let us know which budgets you're going to, because
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen with you. Yep.
to the extent that one of us can't vote, are we supposed to be flipped over to the attendees section? before
Apparently,
we come back to the panelists?
yes.
Okay,
I will take care of that for you, John, if there's an issue.
thanks.
I don't know what we're voting on yet.
And so can you let me share my screen, Jason?
Yeah, you have your co-host already.
Okay. Okay, everybody see a spreadsheet?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yes,
Okay, all right, let's go quickly. So do you see the last column under you where I've got my cursor where it's kind of beige? They're the
Yes.
ones that we're going to vote on. And I think in a case, at least one case, we've already done it, but who cares? Let's vote them again. This is what Clara said we need to be voted. So I'm just going to go by her list. And if we revote it, we revote it. Okay, the one we didn't vote on advisory committee, and I did that on purpose because we're going to exceed our budget for fiscal year 21 because of the cost of our Stellar minute taker. So do we want to stick at 2,500 or do we want to suggest that this needs to be moved up a little bit? I don't know what the cost will be next year. It probably will be at least what it is this year. So do we want to stick with 2,500 and deal with it later, or do we want to go ahead and move it up a little bit to at least accommodate what we think it should be for next year?
What do you think it should be for next
We
year?
are the advisory committee, so we probably ought to at least try to get this right if we can't do our own budget. We don't set a very good example for others.
What was it budgeted? What was the derivative? Like what rate was used for this year? And what is the actual rate being paid?
So the budget for fiscal year 21 was also 2,500, if that's what you're asking, as far as the first part of the question, Jason. Right?
Yeah, I'm just asking how the 20, like it was X number of meetings times X rate per meeting for meeting minutes. I know there's a few other small things in there, but it seems like meeting minutes are the main item in this.
Meeting minutes are there. There wasn't a lot of work on that budget because we've never had trouble with it before this year. So there's not a fixed computation behind that 2,500. It's a round number.
What do you think the round number should be, Kathy?
3,500.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Me too.
Everybody okay with that one? Okay, so we're going to tell Brian that we need to change that to 3,500. I think he'll be okay. It's $1,000. Okay, so someone make a motion on the advisory committee budget 131, please.
I move that we support budget 131 for advisory committee in the amount of $3,500.
Okay, so Andrew D, can you do all the seconding, please?
Second,
Okay, any further discussion of the advisory committee budget for fiscal year 22? If not, roll call vote. Judy,
Bullseye.
Cook, aye. AD,
aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Mr. Martell,
Aye.
AP,
Aye.
Mr. Mooney.
All right.
Okay, 7-0, Claire, for that one. Okay, next one is audit. I held off on that one because this one's went up a lot from the previous year. We know why. There's new auditors coming on. It's an actual firm with more people in it, and they've also got to do the audit for the benefit plans too for this year. So there's a reason for this. 52,000 still sounds cheap to me for what all they do. I bet it probably does to Jason too, and maybe Andrew P. But it still is a big increase from the previous year. So I don't know what else we can do to it. That's what the quote is that has been accepted. Jason, any other comment?
No, I would have liked to have seen more, but I'm not going to hold the budget.
Okay, all right. So no one else has any problem with that one. AD, can you make the motion in AP second?
I move that the advisory committee support at town meeting the auditor budget 136 in the amount of $52,015.
It's actually 52,515. So you want to go in column E. This is the actual budget right now. So they may be a little different than column F. So it's 52,515.
I move that the advisory committee support at town meeting the budget for the audit 136, and you're gonna need to move that cursor so I can read it. $52,515. Did I get it right this time?
You did. Second? Andrew P.
Second.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? If none, Judy,
Buds eye.
Cook is aye. AD,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Mr. Pfaff,
Aye.
and Mr. Mooney.
All right.
Okay, 7-0 on that one, Claire. Okay, the next, I'm going to skip MIS for the moment. Other operation support is 159. So John Parent did get that finalized this week. He was holding off because he really wanted to get as much history under his belt as he could as far as current year goes. And we've been moving some things around from department to department, including the wireless phones for Board of Health got moved into this. So this is a final number now, the 410. Actually, this is the wrong number. So hold on a second. Andrew Pfaff, will you go into ClearGov real quick and pick up the number? It's right in ClearGov. And then I'll keep going so I can try to get this done. And then
Tried to earlier. It didn't seem like the budget was there anymore.
It's there now. They don't have the water, but you can get to the, it does show the town side. I got to it finally. The water's missing. But I think you can. So try. If not, I'll do it in a second. So we're going to come back to that one. That's not the right number there. Okay. Town clerk. I thought we voted. Claire says no. If we held off, we were held off because Jim was trying to get that $4,000 Iron Mountain number down to 1,000 because he wanted to use the room at the townhouse. That's not going to happen yet. So I told him we're just going to vote, and with his $4,000 in there, his budget's down anyway. And then if he saves it, he saves it. So hopefully everybody's okay with that. I mean, he's tried. Mark doesn't want him to use that room for some reasons. So it's just not a done deal at this point. So we got to vote.
Yeah, I can't get to it, Kathy.
All right, I'll try to get to it in a second. Okay. So AD, can you make a motion on Mr. Haggerty's budget 161?
For the 155.
Yes.
I move that the advisory committee support at town meeting the budget for town clerk line 161 in the amount of $155,475.
Second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Roll call vote. Judy?
Buds eye.
Cook is aye. AD?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Andrew Pfaff?
Aye.
Mr. Mooney?
All right.
Okay, 7-0 Claire on that one. Okay, the next one is public buildings and property maintenance. So I was waiting for John on that one too. He's finalized that one. So this is a good number, the 56583. Okay, so any further discussion on John Parent's public buildings and property maintenance budget? If not, AD, can you make a motion on this one?
I move that the advisory committee support at town meeting the budget for public buildings and property maintenance, number 192, in the amount of $583,661.
Second,
second,
any further discussion? Roll call vote, Judy,
Bull's eye.
Cook, aye, Andrew D,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
AP,
Aye.
Mr. Rooney.
All right.
Okay, 7-0 on that one. There's not many more. Okay. DPW. Andrew, you want to make a motion on DPW?
Okay.
My
You need to,
cursor above it.
I move that the advisory committee support at town meeting the DPW budget lines 420, 430, and 490 in the total amount of $2,488,236.
Second,
Second,
okay. Further discussion? Roll call vote, Judy,
Bull's eye.
Cook is aye, AD,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
AP,
Aye.
Mr. Rooney.
All right.
Okay, that was 7-0, Claire. Okay, so the next one is the elected Board of Health. I really thought we did this one, but we're just gonna vote again. She says no. Okay, so, see this one, Andrew? So it's $450 for 510.
I move that the advisory committee support at town meeting the budget for the elected Board of Health, line 510, in the amount of $450.
Second,
Second.
okay, any further discussion? Not Judy, roll call vote.
Bull's eye.
Cook, aye, AD,
Aye.
Jason,
Abstain.
Tim Martell,
Aye.
AP,
Aye.
Mr. Rooney.
All right.
Okay, so clear that 6-0-1 with Jason Malinowski abstaining. Okay, we'll skip Board of Health. I know we voted on Council Agent, but we'll do it again. AD, can you make a motion on this one?
I move that we support the advisory. I move that the advisory committee support at town meeting budget for the Board of Health, line 512, in the amount of $360,000.
No, Council on Aging, we're not doing Board of Health right now. The next one down.
Okay, sorry. I move that the advisory committee support at town meeting the budget for the Council on Aging, line 541, in the amount of $346,746.
Second,
Second.
any further discussion? Roll call vote, Judy,
Bull's eye.
Cook is aye, AD,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
AP.
Aye.
Mr. Rooney.
All right.
Okay, 7-0. So we're confirming our previous vote on that one. Okay, then down below, Claire says we haven't voted on all the debt, and I'm pretty sure we did, but we'll just do it again. Come on. Okay, so let's do this in one vote. So Andrew, can you make a motion to basically approve 710 and 751 in one motion? These
You
four.
need all
right-
the
Yeah.
exact amounts in there?
No, you just say totaling. There's your total right there. See where my cursor is?
3,325,000, et cetera? Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
I move that the advisory committee support at town meeting debt service general fund lines 710 and 751 in the total amount of $3,325,122.
Second.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Roll call vote. Judy?
Bull's eye.
Cook is aye. AD?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Tim Martell?
Aye.
AP?
Aye.
Mr. Rooney?
All right.
Okay, 7-0 on that one. Okay, there's two warrant articles we need to vote on that I think we do pretty quick. So one of them is a perfunctory one. I held off because I was trying to get some more information on those. There's not much more to get. So the first one is the article that basically approves the max amount that can be taken out of the various revolving funds. So the warrant article actually includes those amounts. I wanted to make sure they had the amounts right, and I think they do, but I'm not positive. Okay, so everybody ready to vote on that one? This is in there every year, so this is one that's going to be on the consent list, I believe.
Kathy, are these revolving accounts for specific departments or
Yes, so you will probably want to abstain, John.
Yeah. I will?
right, because
I think
Rick is in here.
Don't I have to be pushed out of to? the
I'll push
attendance
out.
section?
Okay, we're pushing you out.
What's the summary on this, Kathy?
What is the summary?
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
Kathy, do you want me to put the article up?
Yeah, if you can get to it faster than I can.
Hang on, Andrew.
Okay.
Kathy, you got to stop sharing unless Andrew can
Okay,
override you somehow.
so I need to do it myself?
No, you just need to stop sharing your, hang on. I'm just gonna,
If I stopped,
no, yeah, I stopped your screen.
so I'm okay now? All
Yeah, you're good. So Andrew, you should be able to do it.
right, so it's 14, Andrew.
It's 14. I think I have 15 on the one open here.
Yeah, they deleted Article 14, so that would make sense.
Okay, so there's 10 of them, Tim. So there's your language.
So this is the max size of the account.
This is a max size you can take out of this account each year.
And does rec generally take 400,000 out?
Kathy, I'd like to have a further comment to Tim's. I'd like to understand the 400. So
Okay,
I'd prefer that we vote this at town meeting and let Tim come in and talk to us at a future meeting about that. It's a big number.
okay.
I was thinking the 30,000 for golf course maintenance seemed light too.
Okay, so all right, so we won't vote on this one. We'll do this one at town meeting, right? When we understand a little bit more about it. Okay, the last one to vote on that I think we can vote on tonight, unless you want to go ahead and vote on the zoning articles, is the one for the flag road truck exclusion. So I did call Karen Galligan again, just to understand from her mouth where this stood. She has not talked to the citizen petitioner at all. He hasn't called her, she hasn't called him. She said that what she's done is Flag Road has already had various counts of the trucks for other reasons. Park Central, traffic studies. So there's been a few counts of the number of trucks that tend to drive on Flag Road, and it's pretty low. She then took that information to the Department of Transportation and said, based on what you're showing us, it won't qualify. You've got to have more trucks on the road. So she thinks that this is a no-go. She said, what we could do is do another just quick traffic count that would cost $1,000 to $3,000. That could be done just to show that there's not enough trucks on Flag Road to get a truck exclusion. Or you could do the full-blown formal application, which costs about $10,000. So I'm hoping that someone picks up the phone and calls the petitioner and make sure he at least understands this. I don't know if he understands what she knows. So there's been really no effort to try to deal with this one ahead of town meeting at all. So I would say we probably put this one to town meeting and try and hopefully that someone gets this across to whoever's petitioning and convincing him that there is really no point in going forward to this. She says it's not even close as far as the threshold you got to meet to try to get this done.
And Kathy, my wondering on this one, is this having anything to do with Park Central? That they don't want construction vehicles coming down Flag Road, but that wouldn't stop them because truck exclusions, if they're going to location on the road or nearby,
Not only that, it's my understanding you don't look forward, you look at what's happening right now, you count the trucks. We tried, Pine Hill tried to do this a couple years ago and we didn't get it. I mean, we've got many more trucks on Pine Hill. There's a lot of trucks on Pine Hill. FedEx uses it as a cut through every morning. So we didn't get it. We weren't even, I don't think we were that close either. So it looks like there's really no chance you're going to get it based on the current traffic. I don't think there's any
So-
way to look at future traffic.
What's the definition of truck, if I may be?
I don't know. I don't-
It's,
So,
I think it's over 7,500. So it's like basically an F-250 or 350 and higher.
okay, because I mean, Flag Road does have a problem. It doesn't have a problem with trucks and traffic. It has a problem with trucks parking. And I think the petitioner may be going about this the wrong way or attacking the wrong problem.
That meant even if they had the truck exclusion, a truck, if it's going to someplace on Flag Road or, say to Park Central, which is off of Flag Road, it wouldn't be excluded.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is the landscaping trucks, because there are a lot of them and they park on Flag and it's dangerous. And I
Pine Hill's got
understand.
the same problem.
What's that?
We've got the same problem in Pine Hill.
Yeah, and I understand that. I don't understand, being a resident in this area, I don't understand the exclusion part because I don't know, I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Well, not only that, Tim, I understand the problem with landscape trucks, right? It's hard for them to park in short driveways. They need a length of thing, but people are still going to want their landscape trucks to come and do their yards. So you're right, this doesn't solve that problem at all. So what do you guys think about just putting this at a town meeting and let's see what happens between now and then?
Yes.
Sounds
Okay,
good to me.
is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, we don't really have to officially vote for our town meeting, but let's do it since we voted on the other one. So real quickly, Andrew P., can you make a motion to do this at town meeting?
I move that we decide at town meeting the vote for Article 40 for Flag Road truck exclusion.
Second?
Second.
Okay, further discussion? Roll call vote. Judy?
Buds eye.
Cook, aye. AD? Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't hear you, sorry. Tim?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
AP?
Aye.
Mr. Rooney?
Aye.
Okay, 7-0, Claire, to basically vote on that one at town meeting. Okay, so other than the actual budget, to finish up the work on the budget, and to vote on the the 3 zoning articles that we haven't said we're going to wait to town meeting on, that we're done. So those 3 articles, based on what Board of Selectmen said last night, are we ready to take a vote on any of the 3? We've got the lighting one, we've got the site plan review one, and what's the third one?
I think there was a carryover from last year, it has to do with pre-existing non-conforming structures.
Kathy, I'm not ready. I have not read them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so at town meeting.
But
for
I
us-
mean, if everyone else has, that's okay.
Well, I think the illumination one is hard to truly know whether it's the right thing to do or not. At least it is to me, when there's so much detail in it. The only thing I can rely on is that the WPI professor worked with planning board and said this would be an appropriate one. We did support it last year. The other one is miscellaneous provisions.
Kathy, did we vote on the plastic bag?
No, because he's
It's
withdrawn
being
it.
taken off.
But
He's
it's
going to
still-
officially, it's
it's
still
still in
on
the
there
warrant.
because they had to carry it over, but he is going to withdraw it at town meeting. Michael Weishen wants that to be at an indoor town meeting, so he's got the ability to make a presentation using the white screen, et cetera, which he won't have at the outdoor meeting. So he wants it at an indoor meeting. So he is going to try to have it withdrawn.
Should we put not support on it because it's not ready?
Why don't we just wait and see what happens at town meeting? We voted to support it last year, not support it. So we voted to support it.
We voted to support.
I don't think we
take it back.
voted on
I
it.
take it
last
back. We didn't, you're right. I take it back. We didn't vote on it. We never got that far. That's when COVID hit and we never voted on that one.
Right.
And then they postponed it, so we never had to take a vote. So I just soon wait and see what happens, given that it is highly likely it is going to be postponed.
Should we put an at town meeting on that one then?
Okay,
I move that the advisory committee put at town meeting for Article 39 for the plastic waste bill.
okay, second.
Second.
Roll call vote, Judy?
Bull's eye.
Cook is aye. AD?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
AP?
Aye.
Mr. Mooney?
Aye.
Okay, 7-0 to, if we have to vote at town meeting, if we end up having a vote to town meeting. Okay, back to the other three. Do we want to vote to, we've already agreed at town meeting for the downtown initiative, at least so far. Do we want to also vote at town meeting for the other three zoning type articles? Okay, Jason's nodding yes. I think Mr. Rooney wants time. Okay, so Andrew, you want to make a motion to vote at town meeting articles? Articles 34, 35, and 36.
Oh, I guess I wasn't sure which Andrew. I move that we support, or we put at town meeting for Articles 34, 35, and 36 of the draft bill.
Okay, second.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Assuming no further discussion. Judy?
Bull's eye.
Cook, aye. AD?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Tim? Did Tim say yes?
Yes, aye.
Sorry, Tim. AP?
Aye.
Mr. Rooney?
Aye.
Okay, 7-0 clear to vote at town meeting for those three articles. Okay, now the crux of everything. So we saved the best for last, right? So we were all there tonight. I'm just asking let's start with MIS. So we had a robust discussion tonight. General agreement that we need to do something as far as improving the situation as far as our IT department here, but not agreement on exactly what to do here. Mr. Healy has basically recommended that we support BOS supports the budget that MTC put together last night.
With, I think, the laptops added back in, right?
Yeah. So we could
That's
do that.
with the two people, right?
Yes. So it's got two people, it's got $50,000 for basically money to implement what MTC determines should be done, and then adds back in $26,000 for laptops, desktops, etc.
Hey, Kathy, does it make sense, given Marty's comments, and I believe Brian Shea's comments, that it would be important that we reach unanimity among the two boards to maybe reserve these two for town meeting? I mean, the alternative is we vote and we end up with different votes going into town meeting. And then we try to the extent we can to struggle to some agreement at town meeting.
It would be much better if we come to an agreement on this before town meeting, and it is in the warrant that, we support the budget that's printed there. That would be a much better way to do the budget piece of it. It's one thing to wait to town meeting to vote for a specific article, but this is kind of, our reason to be. And so to wait to town meeting, and then, so what Brian's hoping, and I agree with him, is that we agree before town meeting and we go in there with a support vote for whatever numbers in the budget. This one is, there's not a separate board. This is not MTC's call as far as what the number is, like the Board of Health is. So this is different. So this is what Board of Selectmen and Advisory agree should be the number.
So who gets that call if there's no department head? Advisory or select?
Advisory's job is to recommend a budget to, our job is to recommend a budget, period. Board of Selectmen needs to vote on all of the warrant articles, including the budget. So in my mind, it's still our primary job to make sure we've got a budget that we support, right? But I'm not sure it really matters. to answer that, as long as in the end, we both agree on what the number is. So is there any support for doing what Marty recommended, which is using the budget that MTC sent to us, adding back the $4,000 for the capital module for ClearGov, adding back the $26,000 for the laptops/desktops that Tom Flam had in there?
Yes.
I think yes, because I mean, we've achieved something pretty significant, which is
Yeah,
to
yeah.
finally get staffing. And I applaud you for helping to really press this in the last 2 weeks to get it done.
Well, I applaud Tim Martell for what he started last year, which this is kind of the culmination of. So Tim Martell is the one that gets the kudos here for making sure that we didn't forget about this and that we kept pressing until we ended up with something that is definitely headed in the right direction.
It's definitely a team effort, everybody. So,
Jason, you're being quiet.
I'm in agreement with the budget. I'm not in agreement with the full-time. Is where I'm
Really?
struggling. Because I want to give the IT director the flexibility to think about what he needs and explore using the army of IT resources that are at the school. And as I thought about it over our last 3 to 4 hours, because that was an early topic, right? I think there's even more synergies that we're not even thinking about is, right, like the town's on a Microsoft platform. I think the schools are on a Google platform, right? Like we're on different platforms and no one's looking at that. So I don't know. Again, I'm comfortable with the budget, which I think is, a huge ask and a huge, push forward. But knowing that we're going to have a fall town meeting and knowing the discussion we're going to have in 2 minutes on Board of Health, I struggle to add another full-time position without cutting another one. And I'm not going to start either proposing positions that I think could be cut in this town at 10:40 at the evening, or do it in a public setting for obvious reasons. So I actually think that if there was another position that we could replace this with, I would be pounding the table about it right now. But I'm just struggling because no one is looking beyond next year. I understand the risks. I am in support of the budget, but adding full-time employees is just, we're all going to pay for it very soon, and it's going to hurt.
So I will go on the opposite side. I am convinced we need the second full-time person. And I am largely convinced because of what MTC and Angela said last night when we talked. I didn't try to talk them into that. I did work with them to get the amount changed as far as what goes in there. But they really do seem to think that we need a second full-time person and the money to, do other. So this is not where we think we have a second-time person. They also think we do need to do what you, Jason, think we need to do, which is rely on some outside expertise for specific things too. So they want both.
But is 50 really going to be enough to solve everyone agrees with Tim's assertion that cyber is the number one issue. 50 doesn't sound like enough. Please tell me if I'm wrong, Tim, but 50 doesn't sound like enough to insulate us as much as possible from that issue. You're never going to fully insulate yourself, right? But to give yourself better protection than we have now. So I'm just wondering, even if we hire this full-time person, we're actually not solving for the problem that we just said was the priority problem. That's where I'm struggling. If we think that this person will solve it, then I can get on board. But we're misprioritizing. We're mixing full-time resources against the priorities, and that's where I'm concerned.
Yeah, we need to have the inside resources to enable the consultants to do their job, right? And if we run into another situation where our IT director leaves, it's going to cripple us in our ability to do this. That's why the backup person is critical.
See, Jason, I don't see that outside firm that has, real high-end expertise and, really pigeonholed, they would be able to step in for that person. That's not what we'd be using them for. There wouldn't be any one person that could truly step in. We'd be using them for, in our accounting world, very specific skills and not the, generalists like I am. You're specific, you've got a specific set of skills. I'm a generalist. I can't go deep like you can. I go wide. So I do think that we need both.
But are we going to be able to solve the cyber problem with this budget? Because if we're not presenting a budget that solves that problem, at least insulates us, then I think we're approving the wrong thing. I'm just trying to make sure.
I think you need the body, to Tim's point, for the internal knowledge. And then the 50,000 will go a very long way to either A, solving some of the problems, or having an assessment done to know what maybe we will need in FY23 for a significant cost if we need to do some huge security overhaul. But I think that'll go a long way, I would say, Tim, to do the security assessment, make sure you understand your vulnerabilities, and put together probably a 2-year plan on how to close those vulnerabilities.
Right.
Again, MTC is doing that assessment. They may need some help on the outside. They didn't say that, but they wouldn't make it clear. That's what they're embarking on already. And so that the money what Angela wanted there is money to be able to start implementing what they come up with. But Jason, we don't know if it's the right number, but at least it gets us started.
As a side note, Kathy, I would definitely, I know freedom of information and all that, but that assessment that they're doing should be really kept under wraps. That one in particular, right? That's where we could be damaged.
So in the interest of reaching consensus, we're not going to accomplish what I'm going to propose between now and town meeting. But for this summer, would people be willing to roll up their sleeves and look at some other budgets and find a position in particular that, if whether it's through attrition or maybe a tough decision in the town, that we find a sustainable way to support this position moving forward?
Yeah, I would be happy to get rid of two other employees to get this one.
Be careful. So the answer, I think, let's just do that yes or no without going into details. So yes, I would. Something
Yes.
we should always be doing. So yeah. So Judy,
I guess so, yeah.
and I know why you hesitate. AD.
You're just kind of resolving to discuss something.
Yeah, I didn't throw out a department on purpose or departments, but I think we should take a comprehensive review. We have a 10, we add.
And
we,
never
right, like
subtract
I
or
just look at,
subtract.
right, like you're right. So I just think to make this position sustainable moving forward, because I think there's clear agreement that we need to do something in this area, and it needs to be a bold move, right? And I think that's what everyone's trying to get towards. I think you all hear where I'm coming from. Is my hesitation is we're maybe not prioritizing, right? This clearly is at the top of most people's priority list, but we're not maybe getting rid of something else that maybe just was really important at some point in time, but isn't as important as the demands of current day.
Are you suggesting that we should point to people who should not have, we should look at some departments, say, you don't need that person? Is that what you're suggesting?
I'm suggesting we look at it. I'm not suggesting we would actually take action.
I understand that, but you're suggesting that we look at, hypothetically, the library and say, you don't need to have that person.
Or agree that especially if we look at potential retirements, I don't even know who is potential. I know that was a conversation you all had last year, for example, that like we really make some bold statements of maybe we can fill this role differently in the future or not fill it. That's obviously, I'll call it the easier path, right? Of just not filling a role. It doesn't impact someone. They just retire and we not fill it. But yeah, just rolling up our sleeves and just making sure that each department is still right-sized to their mission and consistent with the priorities of the town and try to balance it. 'Cause I think that's what we're trying to do here is we're saying IT clearly needs help, but they're doing the work of other departments. I don't know who, right? And they're supporting every department in town. There aren't that many departments that support every department in town.
So Judy, I hear your concern. We're not saying that we don't have the authority to unilaterally do anything. We're just saying, we're disagreeing. Jason has said, would you guys, if he supported having the full-time second person in MIS, would advisory then agree over the summer to take a look at staffing as a whole, with no particular department in mind, and just see if we see something that should be looked at further as far as possibly discussing reducing headcount?
I'm not willing to do that. I think that we have supervisors who have made cases for the people they have in their departments. We've had versions of this discussion before. I don't think that it's my role to go in and say, you don't need that person there. I think those things happen by attrition. When people leave or they move on, I think people move on. Then you ask the question, what position, why did you make a case that person needs to be replaced? I come from a world of academics where once you have tenure, nobody looks and says, what do you do anymore? I would be tremendously uncomfortable going to any department and saying, why do you have that person then? What is that person bringing? I will not do that.
Well, I don't know it would be asked quite as strongly as that. Why would we not say the department, let's take a look and what are you thinking? Are there any, we asked the question this year, what could you change about the way you do business? So it's kind of an extension of that question. So I see nothing wrong with at least discussing this with the departments.
I think it proves to Judy, I hear your concern, but I think it proves to the taxpayers that once you get something, it's not permanent. It's not set in stone, and that we need to evolve with time. Because I think the other reason that, again, I'm hesitant, but again, willing to support the budget that was discussed tonight, is I would hope that when they hire this person will come with some sort of training to actually develop our workforce beyond basic blocking and tackling that is 20 years old in terms of how we automate things and how we run processes. And I see that as another potential benefit of this position moving forward. I think, Tim, you made a comment, I think it might have been the Board of Health admin, right? Like, in some certain administrative roles have been automated out by technology. Again, I'm not suggesting laying someone off, but I'm saying as we have someone leaves the job, whether it's retirement or to another municipality or to another employer, that we look at ways to be a little more creative with how we share and perform the functions of that department without sacrificing the operations. That's all.
Why don't we ask that question? Why don't we say, over the summer, we would appreciate it if you would look at your staffing and say, how can you rearrange it? You won't get a straight answer.
I know.
You just won't. But there's something finger pointing about what you're describing, unless we make it very general and say, please tell us if you knew that your budget was going to be cut X amount, how would you rearrange your staff, and how would you confront the possibility that you would have to let someone go?
Anybody else?
Kathy, I'm ready to make a motion on this.
Yeah.
Just push
Right,
this
so
forward.
On the MIS budget, a motion on the MIS budget?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay, but hold on, I'm trying to fix the number while you guys are talking.
I got the number here.
Okay, you got the 26 back in there?
Yeah, the 26 and the 4K, so we should be at 473,285.
All right, let me just make sure I agree. I've got. $473,285. Okay.
Right.
So Judy, I hear you, and I totally appreciate your viewpoint as well as Jason's. I think that kind of got glossed over tonight as far as one would expect that we would end up with some more efficiencies that would save us some money somewhere when we add the second person, but we don't know where. I don't think anyone thinks here that we've got the cutting edge technology system in Southborough, but a lot of towns don't either. So
So I move that
we
we.
discuss further.
I move that we support budget 155 for the MIS in the amount of $473,285.
Second,
Second.
Tim Martell, seconded Claire. I don't know if you heard. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Judy?
Aye.
Cook is aye. AD?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
AP?
Aye.
Mr. Rooney?
Aye.
Okay, so Claire, that's 7-0 to support the budget that MTC sent us revised only for adding the $4,000 for Jason's and Andrew's capital budget module and the $26,000 for computers. Okay, all right, we're making progress there. Okay, Board of Health, here we are.
Kathy, I know I belabored this topic, but if they struggle to find someone, let's just say it gets approved and they struggle to find someone, I think we need to have a quick, again, advisory necessarily can't intervene in this, but I would hope that they would quickly intervene if this is such a critical need to use that money or approach the Board of Selectmen on an intra-department transfer to facilitate the needs. Because I will sit here and reject that budget next year if they don't fill this position and we go another 5 months without someone.
Okay, we hear you.
Yeah, I would agree with you. If we have 2 full-time people and they're both doing desktop support, it's ridiculous. Right.
Yeah.
So we have to
I
make
think we
progress.
also stay in very close contact with MTC.
Yeah.
You know, and make sure we know what's going on. Okay, ready for Board of Health and then we'll be done. Okay, where do we start? Okay,
Sorry.
Andrew.
Kathy, I think we just vote. I mean, what's more
What
to
do we
discuss?
vote
What is there more to discuss?
so I think there's, okay, so I think we got 3 ways to vote. We can support the Board of Health budget as they have put together with no changes. We can support what I suggested when I started out. We can support what Chelsea suggested, which is a little bit different. Although Chelsea and I are not as far apart as I think she thinks she is. I'm sorry I didn't have a chance to talk to her. I tried, but I didn't get it done. So I don't think I quite got across what I was trying to accomplish with what I proposed, but that's all I'm going to say about it. What would you like to vote on, John?
The budget, the numbers.
Okay, but which one? What do we want to do with this?
I think we should begin with what they submitted.
I vote on Kathy, your version of it, which is basically what they submitted with some clarification so we can use CARES.
Okay.
Okay, let's just see where we stand. Let's vote on what I proposed tonight first, which they voted on, John. So they voted to revise their budget last Friday on that. So Andrew, make a motion on what I proposed tonight and try to be clear as to what that is.
Do we have that with preliminary number, or because I think we should put a number in it?
I've got a rough number.
Well, why don't we do, add, 10,000 on it, but amount not to exceed.
Why don't you, instead of doing that, basically vote their budget as revised for removing the full-time health director and replacing with the budget for fiscal year 21 for that position, and doing the same thing for the nurse, and just say it like that, because I don't want to get this number wrong.
Yeah, but the thing is, they could pay the person twice as much and we still wouldn't know what the dollar amount is. I think we need to vote on what we want to put in the support in the warrant.
No, we can't. We don't know the number.
Well, we can say a number. We would support up to this amount, or we support this amount.
think we need to at least vote on a concept so the Board of Health can vote on a
That's what I
final
think we've got to
number.
do. Just, we support what the Board of Health is going to vote on, or what they've already voted on, what they're going to present to town meeting based on their Board of Health meeting last Friday. How about that?
Or do we vote on the whatever backstop that they want us to vote on?
We've
and
got
then
to
we
do
say,
that. So that's part of my proposal.
yeah,
If
but
this
what I'm
is
saying
too
is then we
complex,
vote it, say at town meeting, I
some of you
guess.
don't like that, and I'm not sure. So that's why I don't know if we want to start off with this one or the one that Chelsea was supporting. Jason didn't like the reserve fund backstop. AD.
So I'm going to put forward a motion just to try to
Okay, go ahead.
advance
All right,
this.
go ahead.
So I'm going to move that advisory support the same BOH budget related to health director, nurse, and administrative assistant as FY21, except for any contractual or SAP mandated increases.
Go for that.
Could you explain that?
Do we have a second?
Yeah.
I second that.
Okay, Judy seconded. Further discussion?
So
Can you explain it?
yeah, let me explain it. So this is so basically what this is it's not guaranteeing the reserve fund. All it's doing is punting the issue to a fall town meeting is all this is doing. So basically it's maintaining the current year budget and allowing for the further analysis of the shared services, that's right, shared services grant. It still allows the Board of Health to have a full-time director and a full-time nurse and as much administrative support as they need until 12/31. And then it basically relies on a fall town meeting to determine the ultimate path forward for permanent funding of the BOH through taxpayer funding. So it gives them everything they need through 12/31 with the support of CARES, but it kind of punts the decision on what this department should look like until the fall.
Does it keep them in a contract basis, a contractor contingent worker basis?
They can contract through 12/31 because of
But they're,
CARES.
okay, but they're not full-time. I mean, they're not,
They have already contracted through 6/30/22, just to be clear for the nurse. That's signed and done, and they're about to do the same thing with the director. So they are signing, regardless of what we say, because this is not our say-so, they are going to sign 2 contracts through 6/30/22. If we support Jason's motion, they are going to go to town meeting with a different budget. That's just a fact. If we don't give them any assurance that what they want in that budget is going to be funded by a combination of CARES Act and advisory committee reserve fund transfers, they're going to go with a different number. And that's what this will accomplish. And so maybe we do it and we just agree, we really do have to discuss this at town meeting. The only way that I am aware of that we can get them to go to town meeting with a much reduced number in their budget is to give them some assurance that there is a backup plan to allow them to have those 3 positions full-time to 6/30/22.
I mean,
So how can they sign a contract through 6/30/22 without funding be appropriated at this point?
Because they asked Aldo and he said they could, and so they have.
So what if town meeting doesn't support whatever number they support?
I've been told that in the contract, and Mark Purple agreed with this. I asked him today, I said, have you read the contract? Is it in there? Mary Lou has said that in the contract, it does say that the contract is dependent on town funding.
Okay, so
Well, I would like to second Jason's motion.
I think Judy already did. So
you're
Okay.
way too late.
Town
Sorry.
meeting is going to support them because.
I'd
like to-
town meeting-
I would like to third Jason's.
So
And
I
one
just
officers,
have,
I'm not sure of what we're voting on, to be exact. So,
yeah, I can't vote on anything that doesn't have a number. I need to see what the detail is on the budget.
It's not possible to do that.
Okay,
But
here
Andrew,
is
we're-
here's another way we can do this. I know we're not meeting next week. Is everybody available for a quick Zoom meeting to just vote on the Board of Health budget so we can get the numbers together?
Yes.
Yes, but I think we need to agree on a concept so the Board of Health can bring us the right number.
What
I'm
do you
trying to
think-
get an agreement on concept so that then they can come back to us with a number and then we vote yes or no on the number.
What do you consider quick?
Less than 30 minutes.
Can you get that down to 15? And I'll go with that.
I will try my best. We won't do anything but this.
How about 10? Let's keep going.
No, I'm gonna do that. We're not gonna get, we won't get it
When,
done.
when do you want to do this?
Next Wednesday, if that suits.
That's too late, right, Kathy?
No, he
Needs to be in by
said
the 20th, right?
the Board of Selectmen are going to, yeah, so he's gonna close the warrant on Tuesday. So we'd have to do it Tuesday, I guess, at the same time.
Tuesday, the 20th.
Yeah,
Or Monday.
on Monday. I assume capital planning's not meeting on Monday?
Holiday. I don't think you can meet.
Oh, that's true. So we can't do Monday. So that's Patriots Day. So we got to do it Tuesday.
I'm good with Tuesday.
Okay. All right. Tuesday, we got that settled. Okay. Now back to the concept of what we want to see in these numbers.
I'd like to see the FY21 for those two, like Jason said. And I'm
So we want to
comfortable-
see in the budget, the numbers from fiscal year 21 for those two positions. Do we agree on that?
And I'm comfortable with whatever, I don't want to call it a backstop for reserve fund, but pool of other money, I don't know, elsewhere in their budget that they could do an interdepartmental or intra-line or something.
There's
Yeah,
not room in their
I'm-
budget to do much else besides this. So they will need to be convinced that they should do this with CARES Act funding solely, if
Yeah.
we're not going to do the reserve fund transfer.
I'm not a fan of using a reserve fund transfer.
Okay, so you're not a fan,
I
Jason's
don't
not
think
a
it's,
fan.
yeah.
I don't think AD is. There's three that's not. So is there anyone else that's not a fan of using the reserve fund for fiscal year 22 as a backstop? Even though we will have opportunity between the fall town meeting, there will be a new board that will be looking at this over the summer. We will have the shared services grant probably in place.
So Kathy, I mean, if it's not the reserve fund, I like the idea that I was asking Carla about, just saying that we're budgeting only from January 1st through June 30th.
But she said she
But
wouldn't.
she said you couldn't do that. So I don't know if there's,
think we can do that,
but we could put the money in advisory's budget and do an intra-departmental transfer at the end of the year. That's not reserve transfer. You know, if people don't, it's just, you're just moving money around from one pocket to the other, or increase the reserve fund if we're that worried about it. But I think finding an
So
avenue
if
to
it
not have that
wasn't clear
budget in
before-
their budget, but still be able to cover it if we need to.
If it wasn't clear before, I don't believe we would be called on to use reserve fund for that second part of the year. I think there's many things that would probably happen to make that not necessary. So that's why I proposed it, because I thought it gave us the maximum flexibility to allow other processes to take place between now and the special town meeting. But I didn't apparently get that across because of what got said afterwards. So
I understand what you're saying, Kathy. I just think it sets a really bad precedent for future departments that may not have the luxury of CARES that are looking for us to, I'm gonna use the word backstop to, they should be coming to us as emergencies pop up, not stuff that we could have precluded in that. I think we're just threading a needle way too close for comfort for me there.
okay, so back to then option 2, which was called this the Chelsea option. So we want to vote on a budget next week that's got the health director and the nurses line items equal to fiscal year 21. So far, so good. We are not
Which
going
one?
to offer a reserve fund backstop. We need to make that clear, right?
Yep.
Okay, so that's not part of it. We definitely do want to leverage CARES Act or anything beyond that as much as we can. This allows us to do that. Carla agreed. Okay. All right, and then by then, we may have more news on the scanner and or the admin position, but we don't have that now. So is that good enough? Try to get those two
So-
resolved also.
So one of the three is full-time.
Not in the budget.
It'd be exactly where they are today.
Yeah, so we leave
24
it on the
hours for
budget.
the admin.
We basically say, this is what we're willing to support right now. And you know, you'll get CARES Act for you've got a high degree of confidence you'll get CARES Act for the first 6 months. So that's what they'll have quite a bit of assurance of. They won't have much assurance for the second 6 months.
And Kathy, if we do that, they're gonna have to have a meeting to vote on a new budget prior to.
Yes, because their vote was contingent on advisory providing a backstop for that second 6 months. So they will. So we do this, and I still think that they won't agree. So we're still going to end up with two different. Their old budget would be printed the way they want it. They may go back to the original one, and then we just need to deal with this town meeting. I don't necessarily think that we won't prevail at town meeting. I think that the arguments that will get made to not increase its budget so dramatically are probably pretty good arguments. Depends on who's at town meeting, right? So you don't know for sure. I think Board of Selectmen and Advisory will be on the same page, and Board of Health may be on a different page. So that's where we maybe that's where we go.
It's not always a bad thing either, though.
I agree. I agree. So dissension is not a bad thing when it's a healthy discussion and people, are talking rationally and unemotionally and basically presenting the facts that they think are important. So maybe this is where we really should end up going. It's a big thing. It's a huge budget increase. So maybe it should be discussed. I'll keep trying and talking to the Board of Health.
So I think Kathy, for this, should we vote that we're just not going to backstop? And that's where we leave it in the Board of Health stand.
Okay, so I make a motion that,
I have a motion on the table.
okay, so,
You don't want me to withdraw it. I think we're trending in that direction if I'm reading.
well, I just
Right.
want to formalize that we don't want to, so I can say to the Board of Health that we did vote and we voted not to use reserve fund so I think we do need to have that vote. So we say we voted.
But should we finish my motion out and then vote that?
Okay,
But I think,
You need to repeat your motion.
Claire, did you write it down? Because I'm not going to repeat it word for word. I
No,
can,
just-
I had that you moved to support the same Board of Health budget for the health director, nurse, and admin, with the exception of the SAP increase. That were the numbers for FY21.
yes.
but we
Yeah.
can't support that because it won't be in the warrant.
Well,
Yeah,
we're providing a
and we're going
concept.
to, then in the warrant, it's going to say, we do not support the Board of Health budget. That's what it's going to say. So we can say, this is what we do support. And then when it's printed, we're going to say, we don't support the Board of Health printed budget.
Yeah, so we're telling them what we would support.
Yep.
They can say yay or nay, and if they say nay, they're gonna bring back a different budget, and then we'll all make separate decisions in the 10 or 15-minute meeting next week.
15, Jason, 15.
Sorry, I forgot
Okay.
what we agreed on.
So, okay, so
Okay, so
Jason,
we've got a motion, we've got a second. Tim, go ahead.
just to be clear, your figures are the full-time director and the part-time for the other two.
Nope, it's the exact same hours that was budgeted for this year, so I think it's approximately 19 hours for the public health director, 19 and a half hours for the public health nurse, and I believe it's 24 hours for the admin assistant.
He's
So it would have been the
correct.
budget we all voted on at last year's town meeting, absent the increases.
Okay,
But it's going to create stability for them through at least 12/31 of 20 with full-time resources because of the CARES funding.
What impact do the two contracts have that they've apparently already signed, though?
The residual, my understanding, would be funded by CARES.
Okay,
or at least the first 6 months.
okay.
So they're getting stability through 12/31, but we're not making, I'll call it, permanent decisions until we kind of see, what the future needs, and allows the director to think through what the future looks like.
That's right. And you got fall town meeting that can reconsider this, and you'll know what's going on with the $300,000 shared services grant. So you have a lot more information in the fall that can be readdressed. And if we need to, if we feel like we need to, we don't see any CARES money, we don't think anything's funded after the end of the year, we can then vote to go ahead and at least fund the rest of the full-time health director position, which we supported. Okay, all right, so I think we're there. So we got the motion, it's been seconded, it's been discussed, so roll call vote. Judy,
Buds eye.
Cook is aye. AD? Jason,
Aye.
Tim,
I,
AP,
No,
Mr. Mooney.
Aye.
Okay, so Claire, that's 6-1-0 with AP being the no vote. Okay, now I do want an official vote on using the reserve fund for fiscal year 22 to backstop any cost in the Board of Health Department that aren't paid for with CARES Act or any other similar funding, so that we can show the Board of Health we actually did vote on this.
why, Kathy?
Because I told them we're going to vote on it, for one thing. I said we're going to vote. So I think we got to vote. I mean, it sounds like we're not going to approve this, but I want a formal vote that we don't want to use the reserve fund for fiscal 22 to backstop any of the cost that are incurred by those positions that aren't covered by CARES or anything else.
so moved.
Say your motion again. Is that precisely?
I'll make it simpler. I move that we use the reserve fund for fiscal year 22 to backstop the Board of Health budget for fiscal year 22 to cover any excess cost for the director, the nurse, and the admin that aren't covered by outside funding.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like what you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong. If they don't get the full-time funding through CARES or through the regular budget process, then we'll give them a reserve transfer.
No, you're going to probably vote against this. So I'm trying to get us to vote on the record whether we're going to do
But
this.
that, right, but that's what the
That's what the
that's what the
motion is.
vote's for.
Then if you don't agree, you're going to vote no.
got it, okay.
Okay. All right, Judy.
I agree. So,
Yes,
yes.
that's a yes. Okay, Cook is yes. AD?
No, you're voting that we do use the reserve fund transfer to backstop. I vote, okay, I vote no.
Okay, Jason?
No.
Okay, Tim?
No,
Okay, AP?
Yes,
Okay, Mr. Rooney, this is a 3-3 vote.
Yes.
Okay? So you know what you voted yes for, Mr. Rooney?
I
'Cause you
do,
said
and
a minute ago.
because I think the way that you posited it, you could say it's an unforeseen expense
Okay,
based upon the motion that you said it, and that was my concern. I do think it's unforeseen. We're expecting the CARES Act to pay for it. We're making our decision based upon the CARES Act paying for it. And if they don't, it's, at least in my mind, it's somewhat unforeseen and therefore would qualify. That's the rationale based upon the way that you phrased the motion, Kathy.
but then
Okay.
why wouldn't you just say yes to 3 full-time positions in the budget?
because
Why-
we want the
why
CARES
put
Act
us
to
in-
fund them.
'cause if we do it in the budget, then you can't get CARES Act.
But
So
The
that,
CARES Act is only through 12/31. I just want to make sure John understands
Yeah,
that.
I get that.
we know that, and so that's what this is for. So we know that, and we won't know probably whether it's going to be extended for a while.
You entertain a motion to adjourn.
Please.
Okay, so everybody, Claire, that's 4-3. That's
So,
4-3.
am I, yeah, okay. I think, Tim, I'm sorry, I didn't catch what you said. Your vote.
He was
I
no.
was part of the 3.
Okay, so the yeses were Cook, Pfaff, Buds, and Rooney.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, what an end of a meeting. So based on this, we will meet next Tuesday. I'll get everything, I'll get it posted. We'll meet for 15 minutes just to vote on the actual number that they are going to put into the warrant. Agree?
And if it's different,
They've already voted on this, Tim. They said they are going to do what we just voted on tonight if we do the reserve fund transfer. So they voted on, they'd have to re-vote if it's different. So they voted on that. Okay. All right. And what I'm going to try to do is see if they want to agree to move the copier out of the scanner out of that before next week and get that done too. So we'll see. Okay. Any other business anybody wants to talk about at 11:18? Okay. Thank you guys for hanging in here. This was an important meeting. This was, to wrap it up for town meeting almost. Okay, Judy,
Hey, you kept me awake, which is a big deal.
I know you did good. I'm proud of you. You did
Pretty
good.
hard.
Yep, you did good.
Move to adjourn.
Second. Okay, seconded. Roll call vote. Judy,
Aye.
Cook, aye. AD,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Tim,
I.
AP,
Aye.
and Mr. Mooney.
All right.
All right, see you guys soon.